Hey, Timmy.
Hey, there you are, Sean. January 22, and everybody's been asking me, where's Finn?
Here he is,
Yeah,
the
he threw
world
me
famous
under the
Finny.
bus last week, Sean. There he
Hey,
is.
so you did a great job last week. So if you're watching the show last week, right in the middle of the show, boof, Sean Morris is just like disappeared, right? And
Yep.
I'm like, holy Christ, what happened? Now we've had times before where it freezes up and it does stuff like
Yeah.
that because that's what happens in live shows. Whether you got a small podcast like us or if you're
hmm
watching major news networks, sometimes it freezes up when you're doing,
Sure.
the live. Um,
hmm
but I'm sitting here and I'm talking, and you kept like disappearing, right? And your head glows green because must be because of Norlight. I don't know what the hell it's from, right?
Yeah.
But uh, but I was bitching about you disappearing, right? And all of a sudden, poof, I disappeared. And I
You
said, "What did
disappeared.
Timmy do? He did something to me because I was bitching about him." And
hmm
then all of a sudden, I couldn't get my computer to start up. I couldn't get anything to work. Nothing, no matter what I did. And and I look under the table and I see a wire, and I go, "What the hell is that?" And then I look under and I see Finney. He's still under the table gnawing at his bone. Well, his bone is laying on top of the wire, and he's biting through it. And I don't know how he survived. He
Yeah,
bit
it took
through.
120 bolts in the mouth.
Yeah, the only thing now is when he pisses, it's like a lightning bolt. But outside of that, I don't know how he's only a 7 pound dog, right?
Yeah.
And his little teeth pierce straight through the thing. But what happened is I thought he blew out my computer because I took the computer to another room
Yeah.
and and it wouldn't start. And I'm like, oh shit. So I took it over to the other outlet, all three of them in the same room, wouldn't start. So I thought he blew up my computer, all of our equipment.
Yeah.
Luckily, I got up the next day to give him a bone because I felt bad for him because I wanted to give him a noogie. And the lights were out in my garage. I flipped the
hmm
breaker, and here we are, live and well for
We're
our
back.
podcast. So
Yeah, and I
Finney, I
had to.
love you, you little bastard. And
So we got a reprieve, huh? Pardon.
he did. I pardoned him.
Yeah.
I pardoned him about 5 minutes after Joe Biden pardoned his whole family. I
Yeah.
figured if
Right.
Biden can pardon his family, so can I, right?
Well,
Hey, listen,
we're all happy for Finn.
I want to send out a big I love you to my good friend Joe Welcome, who's a little under the weather. Hey Joe, I love you. I hope you feel better soon. And thanks for watching the show. And we appreciate your support. Hey
Yeah,
Timmy,
John Large is here.
John Lodge is always here. He's
He's always here,
one of
Johnny.
our great supporters. Listen, before we get any further, let me just jump over here. Listen, as you know, my brother Johnny, the John Morris Band's having his out of retirement 60th birthday bash. He calls it the low dough rock and roll birthday party because of all of us poor slobs that go. We don't have a lot of money, but it's April 19th. It's at the Cahoes. A music hall. You can get the tickets at the box office. And hey, love to see you fill the music hall. Johnny's been around a long time. He's given us a lot of fun over our years, got us in a lot of trouble as well. But we could write a book about Johnny Morris and the John Morris Band. Let me just throw a little song on there that he's got going on. This was his last birthday party, and it was packed. Then he took a couple years off. I'm not playing no more. I'm retiring. That's what this was, his retirement party. I'll get you VIP tickets. So if you get a chance and you can get over to the music hall, get your tickets, April 19th, Johnny Morris's birthday bash. I'd love to see you there. Maybe we'll do a podcast right from the show before it starts. That would be pretty neat. So Timmy, listen, you know that I hate the winter, right?
Oh yeah,
And
you wanted
so,
to go to Florida. Yep.
well, I got to work out some details because the boss takes up all my time. But what a wonderful thing to take up your time, right? Your grandkids.
hmm
But my goal is to go down there for 3 months, and I'm going to get down there this year as soon as I figure out a few things. But I was thinking to myself, how bad is it in Florida when you have snow coming down? Yeah, that's
Oh,
right. It's
you go there to
snowing.
get. from the snow, and it snows.
It's snowing in Florida, and even worse than Florida, like they had three nuns and a priest
Having a
having
snowball.
snowball fights. I thought it was the funniest thing. I really did. I said, "Man, this
Well,
is
let
what
them
it's
be
all about."
kids again.
Yeah, they were. You know what? You live in Florida, you never see no snow. All of a sudden, you get 6 inches of snow. That's pretty
Yeah, the
exciting.
governor was saying on TV a short time ago that him and his kids were out playing in the snow. Something they'll never forget because they just don't get that opportunity.
Well, once it happened, like the last time, well, it's never happened with the amount of snow they
Yeah,
have.
2 or 3 inches they got. That's a lot
Right.
down there.
Now, if you go to New Orleans, they got 9 inches. It's never
Wow.
happened as far back as they've kept records. It's
Hmm.
never happened. So
Wow.
I guess, Timmy, if you're a Donald Trump fan, you got to be really excited because within 2 days in office, he solved global warming.
Yeah.
Right? He's
Yeah.
fixed the problem. We're no
Yeah.
more global warming. It even snows in Florida. Hey,
Yeah.
Donald Trump, you did a great job in 2 days.
Yeah.
And
Well, he just got done naming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Then it snows.
you never know what the hell this guy's going to do. But Cassie Rigney is an old friend of mine from Cohost, and she hates Trump so bad. And you know what? I love her, but I
Yeah.
bust her chops. I just wind her up all the time.
Yeah.
And so I put on Facebook that Donald Trump just, fixed global warming because he made it snow in the South. And she writes me back and says, "You need to stop saying this because there's a lot of quiffs out there that will believe he really did it." I said, "Well, maybe he did. I mean, what happened? It snowed." So, hey, Cassie, maybe Trump did fix global warming in 2 days. You never,
Yeah.
never, never know.
Well, he did
But
withdraw from the Paris Climate Accords,
that's what I
and two
mean.
days it snows.
So you really never know what this son of a bitch is going to do,
Well,
right?
right, didn't it happen? He signs executive order withdrawing from the Paris Accords, climate control, right? Then the next day it snows in Florida.
Next day it snows in Florida. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know. The guy's got a lot of shit going on. I don't know
yeah.
how he
He's
does it.
well connected to somebody upstairs. He gets shot in the air. Okay.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I laugh every time I see him do things.
I see Van Fleet's here.
Hey, Sean, it's good to see you. And so, Timmy, I just want to jump into. I got to jump into this because
Yeah.
the more I wake up in New York State, the more I hate it here.
Oh,
Okay, the more I live here, the more I hate it here. And it's not the beauty of the Adirondacks. It's not the greatness of a small little city that I grew up in. It's the political establishment
yeah.
that just seems to not understand what just happened in the last election, right?
Hmm.
We got our clocks cleaned. The country overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump because they're sick and tired of all of the bullshit. They want politicians to fix our problems and
Yeah.
stay out of our lives, right?
Yeah.
They want fair elections. They want people to have to run and get voted in office based on their merits, right? Based on why are you the
Yeah.
best candidate for me? But every day in New York State, we see reasons to recognize that they don't recognize or they don't care
Hmm.
what the hell's going on in the world. Long as their little fiefdom continues to survive, they'll do anything. And so we have an immigration problem. Now, I understand everybody who's come to this country came as an immigrant, right? I mean,
Hmm.
we all started somewhere. All of our great grandparents or whoever it was, we all had to start somewhere.
Hmm.
But there was a process, and it was a grueling process, right? You didn't just walk
Still
into,
is.
yeah, you don't just walk into the United States.
Try to do it legally, Sean. It's so much harder to do it legally than it is to just walk across the border.
Well, of course it is. And look, I believe when we talk about immigration reform, we need to make it an easier process. Okay, we don't have to have a process that is almost created so you fail.
Hmm.
We need a process that really looks at people, looks at their background, looks at whether they're safe, looks at whether they've ever committed rape, murder, bad crimes, make sure they're fully vaccinated against all of the viruses and bacterias and whatever else that we have been our whole lives. stuff that we've eradicated.
Yeah.
We don't want to see chicken pox, and we don't want to see monkey pox, and we
Well,
don't want to see
tuberculosis is a big one.
right. We don't want to see SARS, and we don't want
Yeah.
to see all these diseases that we eradicated from this country popping up like they are now.
Yeah.
That is a direct relationship to people who have never been vaccinated, where they still live with these diseases coming over. And
Well, I'll
since
give you a good example too, Sean. Anybody that comes over that say is going to take up residence in Albany County, if they come here legally, they got to go to the Albany County and get screened for all of these diseases, especially TB.
Well, they should be
So
at the
these
border.
the illegals evade that.
Well, of course, we opened the borders up and just let them come over like a flood of. They came over like a tsunami. That's all I can say, right? And let's not be so naive not to believe that all of these countries did empty out their prisons, did send the worst of the worst. The people that hate this country didn't have to sneak in to set up plots against us. They walked in. And we haven't even seen the results of this disaster. When we see it, it's going to be another, major event where we're going to be like, holy shit, how did that happen? Well, we know how it happened, right?
Yeah.
So Trump has made some very bold moves, and he told people in the election, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
This is what we need to do. Okay? And some of it may be, I don't know if you have to go that far, but I understand you have to erase the whole chalkboard and start from scratch, right? And so in New York State, as always, and who's not sick of seeing this woman, this attorney general, who's not sick and tired of her face, her voice, and the bullshit that she pulls like she's some kind of moral compass? Letitia James, right?
Yeah.
So she couldn't wait to jump in with 17 other liberal states like Denver. Denver had illegals from Venezuela hijacking housing complexes. They're showing it on the news.
They're even squatting. They're going into soldiers' homes when they're overseas, squatting and taking them over.
Yeah, these people in Venezuela, these Venezuelans came to the United States, took over, like if you lived in Riverwalk, they took over the whole complex. And they were on video with guns and kicking down doors and making you pay ransoms. And somehow the Denver mayor, this piece of whack job, tries to justify it, tries to say it's not happening. They want you to believe that what you see is not real, that it's never happened, that you're just drinking too much Kool-Aid and what you see in front of your freaking eyes isn't real. Well, bullshit, Tim. I'm going to tell you something. My eyes are pretty good. I have to wear some specs. But if I seen a guy coming towards my house with a gun trying to kick my door down, I would know what he's doing. And so these far left crazy liberals, which I'm ashamed to say I was.
Shoot at him.
Yeah. I'm ashamed to say I was part of their party. I'm still registered in their party with prayers that it changes, that some middle of the road smart person will take over, because we're in a lot of trouble.
Well, you got to change New York City to change it, but
New York State once again jumps in and wants to make sure that they're on the right side of their Democratic Party, and they're filing all these lawsuits. They're going to spend millions and millions and millions of taxpayer dollars to fight lawsuits because the president of the United States, who is in charge of immigration from A to Z, made some rulings. And some, half-ass lawyer from New York City now thinks she's got to change the rules that she's in charge.
And jails her and sends the U.S. Marshals right after her, because this time they're using the federal law against these people. They need to. Okay, if they're going to disobey the federal law, what did Biden say? Nobody's above the law. Well, arrest them.
Well, somebody was above the law. He pardoned his whole freaking family before he left.
But you know what? Arrest these people in cities that are simply saying we're not going to assist or whatever. If they impede it, I would say that's enough for them to be arrested.
Well, I think you're going to see some shit happening, and it's going to shake some heads. And I hope it does, because these people.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can't hear me? You can't hear me? These people are too big for their britches. That's the problem. But
So
you
look
know,
at Sean. I don't know if you can hear me, but I lost your audio.
Finn, where's Finny? Can people hear me? Or am I dead out? Is Finny eat my wires again?
Testing, testing.
I hear you. I don't know, Tim.
Well, folks, I don't know. I can't hear him. I wonder if you can hear him.
Well, Sue says she can hear us both. So
Put in the comments, anybody there, if you can hear Sean Morse, because I can't.
yeah, Sue says she can hear both of us. They hear both of us.
Okay, John, I say you can hear us both, but I on my end can't hear. I can't hear Sean.
Well, that's because you buy cheap headphones.
Thank you, guys.
You buy your cheap headphones. So anyway, Timmy, not only are they suing to try to stop the immigration process, in New York, the state Senate is trying to pass another bill.
So you're all telling me you can hear Sean, but can you hear me?
Well, when it says I can hear both,
Okay.
unplug your headphones.
Well,
Plug your
I somehow managed to lose his audio, so I can't hear him.
So anyway, Timmy, let me just keep going because the New York State Senate.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, let me push Timmy out and see if he can come back in. So the New York State Senate, in its own wisdom, has, we talked about how the government, folks, is always trying to protect its own fiefdom and protect its own interest, right? They don't care about nothing else. They care about I don't know. Timmy can't hear me. Maybe his dog bit somebody. But let me just keep going because in the New York State Senate, they are trying to pass a bill. Now, I want you people to listen to this, and I want you to try to chime in and tell me what you think. So, as it currently is today, when you register to vote, you have to live in the house that you're registered, in the city that you're registered, and you have to vote in the city and house where you're registered. So if I live in Cohoes, I can't vote in Colony. If I live in Cohoes, I certainly can't vote anywhere else in New York State. I have to vote for Cohoes. And it makes sense, right? If you are a Cohoes resident, you don't want people from outside of Cohoes determining what your tax rate would be. You don't want people to determine what your fire department is and how many people live in the fire department. Let's see if Timmy can get back on. Tim, can you get on? I don't know. So you don't want people to be living in your community and voting in another community or vice versa. You don't want people from Colony saying, well, let's vote in Cohoes because we don't like paid firefighters, so we want to vote for the guy who's going to get rid of the firemen, right? Let's not vote for a guy in Cohoes because he's going to raise our taxes, so we're going to vote for the guy, and we're going to vote for the guy in another city. So here's how the state legislature is trying to manipulate. Yeah, I can see Timmy's in and out. I don't know. This is how the state Senate is going to try to manipulate. They're passing a law that says you can vote in New York State in any house and in any city where you are registered as long as you have a connection with that house. So let me explain that. This is how it's working. I live in California, and Al Albin is my fifth cousin. And Al Albin calls me up and says, hey, we got to get rid of Sean Morris because he's going to raise our taxes. Under this new law, even if I live in California, I can register to vote in the house in Cohoes because I have a connection to that house that will continue because Al Albin's my fifth cousin and I visit him every 4 years. Now, do you get that? So, in essence, no matter where you live, you can pick and choose where you want to vote. And even in a little city election where you have no business voting, you can vote in that city because the state legislature is going to pass a law that says Sean lives in Buffalo, but he can register to vote in Cohoes politics because Sean's son lives in Cohoes and Sean goes and visits him once a year. Now tell me that that's not blatant, right in front of your face, blatant, uh, protecting their own fiefdom, because that's all it's about. They don't care where you live. They're going to let you vote for them as long as you want to register to vote for them. It's obscene. It's crazy. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. And I can't imagine anybody in this podcast believes that it's a good thing to have people that don't live in your city voting in your city based on your budget. So what happens if you get a mayor and he wants to raise taxes 20% and he's got 25 people in his family that live all over the country, but they all come visit him at the family reunion. Does that mean everybody can register in the city of Cohoes and vote for that guy? Well, according to them, yes. Yes, Timmy's talking. I don't even know who the hell he's talking to. Um, so how screwed up is that? Think about it. We have a family reunion every 4 years from all over the country. Every one of those people can say, "I have a connection with that family. I have a connection with that house, and I'm gonna register and vote in Cohoes, even though I live in Buffalo or I live in California or I live in Florida." That is corruption at its highest level. That's your government. That's the government in New York State. If you went to college here, you can use your old dorm because you have a connection if you go back to the college or if you make donations. I watched the whole entire a Senate hearing on it. Yes, that's the boring part of my life. I sit home and watch this shit. Um, and I could not, for 1 second, try to put my arms around what they're trying to do. And it just dawned on me the only thing they're trying to do is make sure they're protecting themselves. They're so greedy that they'll let you vote for them if you don't live in the city of Cohoes. Now, before you'd go to jail for that, right? Voter fraud, but not in New York. And once New York passes it, California will pass it, and the rest of the liberal cities will all pass it. And before you know it, voting for your community is meaningless. Voting for the city that you live in is meaningless. And people who don't even live here can organize a group of people all from as far back as 50 years ago and say, "Hey, doesn't your aunt still live in Cohoes? Well, you can register out of her house, and now you can vote in Cohoes without even living here." It just makes no sense. I mean, does anybody who's watching the show think it makes any sense? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Anybody else? Um, I can hear you, Timmy. No, I muted you when you were talking, and I was trying to talk because I, yes. So if you can't hear Timmy, he asked a question. What if I live on? Well, at least this is my understanding. It doesn't matter where you live on the island. Let's just say y'all want to vote for April Trudeau. So everybody in the city who has a relative on the island registers out of that house because the law says as long as you have a connection with that house, you can register anywhere. Correct. If you want to vote for somebody and you don't, so what is the difference of having wards? What's the difference of where you live in the district? What's the sense of having districts? You can now vote for anybody you want, anytime you want, as long as you have a connection and that connection is expected to continue. So again, as long as you have a family member, a best friend, a cousin, an ex-girlfriend, if she still likes you, you could call her up and say, I'm going to vote out of your house if it's okay because I still have a connection with you. How are they going to know who you're connected to? They don't care. Well, they're not going to care no more. It's not going to matter because you'll register to vote. They'll get. So Timmy asked me, how does Albany County or the state keep track? I guess they're not going to care any longer because what they're going to do is they're going to let you register. You'll fill out the registration card. You'll send it down, and they'll put you in the computer, and they'll say, this year you're voting out of 121 River Street. Doesn't matter. You can live in California and I could call you up and say, Timmy, I'm going to vote out of your house because we're related, and I right, and you can vote out of their house. Now the Republicans during this this process made the argument like common sense people like we're making right now, like common sense. No, you can't vote for Co's New York budgets and firefighters and anything else if you don't live here. We don't want you voting for anything if you live in Buffalo, okay? But the Republicans were making that argument. The Democrats, they don't make an argument. They just keep repeating the same shit over and over and over. They just keep repeating, well, this is a good idea. This brings more people into the voting pool, this blah, this blah. It's kind of listening to them for everything they talk about. They talk about border. Oh, we need more people in to make it a better country, even if they murder people. But Timmy, you're talking to me, but nobody can hear you. Nobody can hear you because you're not in the show. You're in the back. I don't believe. Can anybody hear Timmy? You're well. Then you popped out. You disappeared.
I don't know. Am I on now? Can you hear me now?
I don't know. I can hear you. I've always heard you, but I can
Yeah,
hear you. Can anybody hear Timmy?
they were.
Hurry up. Chop chop. Type type.
Come on, somebody out there.
No,
Let me
nobody
know.
can hear you.
Nobody?
No. Did Finney go to your house?
I'll
You want
check.
the bed? You can hear him now. Okay, they can hear you. You
They
just
can
can't
hear me
see.
now.
Oh,
Okay.
can you see him? Yeah, but I can't. I can't. Let's see. There you are, Timmy. I think you're back.
Am I
So
back?
anyway, yeah, I don't know what happened. I think it was it's
Let's
the
just
webcam.
blame Finn and move on.
Yeah, blame Finney. So as I was saying, Timmy, most people are listening to us and they agree, man. You just can't let people vote wherever they want to vote out of any house they want to vote for. I
Hmm.
will be the next mayor again because I have friends all over the freaking country. I call
Yeah,
up 150, 250, 300 of them and say, let's register at my house since you guys came here. Every year you come here for a little
yeah,
party and you're connected to me
yeah.
and you're connected to my house and you're going to continue to come back every 4 years for the,
Well,
the party
right.
and
Well, your
boom.
brother Johnny could probably bring in 10,000 votes.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Who's keeping track?
Hmm.
Who's going to keep track of who lives where and who's got a connection with what? It's just another stupid New
Sean,
York
I just
City
think
move.
right. I just think it eliminates the voter rolls, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think it eliminates them because they want to make sure you're registered, and that's what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
registering. So what they're saying to you and me and everybody else because we're stupid,
Yeah.
is that somehow
Yeah.
this is better for us.
Wow.
And they'll come up with a pre-planned plot of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, here's what they're doing.
Hmm.
Everybody who's elected in this state has people that don't live here no more, has kids that ain't here, has
Yeah.
relatives that ain't
And they
here,
want them to be able to
and
vote
they
for
want
him
them
anyway.
to be able to vote for them, regardless if they're in California or if they're in
Yeah.
the Philippines.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I say the
Crazy.
Philippines because as long as you're still an American resident, maybe you're over there for 4 months.
Yeah.
Well, technically, you know, you can say, well, I don't want to. I live up in the 5th ward, but I want to vote down in the 6th ward to help April.
Here's a good example. You know, I'm going over there in June. So, say if there was a primary, okay, in June, and I'm going to be over in the Philippines, then, right? I could cast a vote, okay, for what
Well, you
goes
can
on.
always still cast a vote. You can still always do an absentee ballot, regardless of where
Yeah.
you are. What you can't do is say, I live in the 5th ward,
Yeah.
and there's no primary in the 5th ward, or there's no
So I
election.
can vote I can vote for what goes on.
So
the
I'm going to
island
go down to
because
April's
I have a
house.
connection, right?
Right. I'm going to go down to April's house or Joe's house or Sean's house, and I'm
Yeah.
going to register out of their house because I have a connection with them.
Yeah.
They're my cousin. I go down the house all the time,
Yeah.
and I have a vested interest in the 6th ward. And now you're going to be able to vote in the 6th ward because that's where you'll be registered. It's
So
just
you can-
stupid.
So
It's
I can
stupid at every
register,
level.
right? I can register to vote in the 6th ward. Does that unregister me to vote in the 5th ward? I wonder.
Of course, you can't vote in both wards.
Right.
But nothing says you can't switch back and forth either. Because that was one of
Yeah.
the questions that was raised by one of the Republicans who had half a brain. Says, well, so every year I can change my registration? Well,
Yeah.
just like
I'm going to
and
tell
the
you
answer is,
something
yeah.
that is odd. You probably didn't know this, okay? But let me take you back to 1869, okay?
How the hell are you going to take me back to 1869? I
I'm
can't
gonna
remember
take you back.
1969.
Right. I'm going to take you back anyway. There was going to be a vote in Cohoes for its first mayor, right? Its first mayor. And this was taking place back in 1869 on a Monday. And what happened is because the people of Waterville said, well, if you're going to vote in Cohoes on Monday, the next day, Tuesday, okay, you can't vote in Waterville. Well, they tried to do that back in 1869. And the people in Waterville says, I don't think so. Okay, and that really did happen. In a sense, what's going on here almost smacks at the same thing. You know, you get to vote one time in one place. All right. But
How do you
anyway,
know all that stuff, Timmy? It's like you're Rain Man, for Christ's sake. Timmy's like Rain Man. He can't
Well-
figure out how to hear my podcast,
No,
but he
but-
can tell you what happened in 1832.
Go up because I was there with Gil.
You and Gil were there, huh?
Me and Gil were there. I was fighting him back then too.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's
So-
funny.
this
So Timmy,
test-
listen. Let me jump over to some of our. Well, before I do that, Timmy, let me just jump over here and say, hey, listen, we're trying, people. We're really trying. So if you subscribe, click the button, click the bell, get notified when our podcast is up and running. We would really appreciate it. The more people that watch, the better we're going to be. And the more love we feel. So we appreciate that. So, Timmy, let's jump over here for a second. I'm going to drop you in. There you are. How you doing, buddy?
I'm here.
I see it. So I want to jump into the Cohoes tips.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't you jump over and tell us a little bit about some of the stuff happening in the great city of Cohoes?
Well, we know that there was I didn't hear any more about the break-in up at Cohoes High. Have you?
No. You know what? I'll tell you a funny story. It's not the first break-in that I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it's happened before
because
there.
I was a firefighter the last time at least the last time I heard
Yeah.
about it. But I was working in the firehouse. I happened to be working that night, and there was over the police radio, it said that there was a call to send the cops up to the school because some of the motion detectors were going off.
Yeah.
Right. So I was just kind of listening, but I was paying attention, talking to some other people. And the dispatcher got back on and said to the police, we now have 15 motion detectors going off. And I turned to my boss and I said, well, you know what that means, don't you? He goes, what? I go, that means there's a fire in the place because the smoke set off all the motion detectors. There can't be 15 going off at the same time in all different areas. And he said, you're probably right. And 5 minutes later, the tones went out and the guy who broke in burned up the library, started a
Wow.
fire in the school.
Yeah, I
So,
remember that. Yeah.
yeah. So in this particular case, I just caught it on the news, but it looked like somebody broke in. But I would think with a $58 million budget, they should have the best cameras in the world, shouldn't they?
Yeah, that there was a time where they had a system in there called Sonatrol. It's audio, basically microphones throughout the school, and these microphones would trip the alarms if there was noises in particular places, like say the workshops and stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
get all
Okay.
that. I think that, that's the technology today. What I'm saying is that if
Hmm.
somebody broke into the school,
Yeah,
wouldn't you think for a school that has a budget like it's the White House,
yeah,
they'd have the best cameras in the world? You would
yeah,
think they would have had like electronic dogs that could bite your leg as you're coming in the window
yeah,
for the amount of money we pay for that school, right?
yeah.
But I hope they find the person. I mean, our
Hmm.
school should be a place where people ain't breaking into, for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
What are you going
and
to steal in a school? You
right,
probably ain't reading books.
computers, steal the computers and stuff like that. That might be in the school. Who knows?
Well, if you're stealing the school computers, you're going to get caught.
Yeah,
This is probably just some young stupid kid
yeah.
doing something stupid, and I hope they catch him. But teach him a lesson.
Who
But
knows? I mean, the door
don't.
could have got left open. Who knows?
No, it looked
Hey,
like it was.
so yeah, so look at another thing going on right now as we speak. Okay, we just got wind of this about a half an hour before the podcast. Is we've got a water leak up at the water plant. Okay, and it appears that it's a something is leaking badly inside the plant and it tripped the alarm. So
Timmy, we talked about this.
yeah,
They allowed the water filtration plant to
they
just
go to hell.
they've allowed everything in the city in
Yeah.
3 years to decay to the point where if you didn't cry, you'd have to laugh because
Hmm.
it's that depressing. You got to laugh or you would cry. Maybe that's the way I should have said
Hmm.
it. But uh, the filtration plant, the people that work up there, they've been treated like shit.
Yeah.
Steve Hennessy thinking that he has a right to go in there without a license and start turning knobs that he doesn't know what they are.
Yeah.
The solar panels, they sprung leaks
Yeah,
and
and the police called Hennessy instead of calling a person on call. So
well, Hennessy will tell him to call his buddy first. There's a
yeah,
whole another game going
he
on
won't
up there
call the
with.
most qualified guy to go up there and check
Well,
things
there's a
on
whole
out.
game. There's a whole
Yeah,
game going on there where they're letting people take tests and hiding
yeah,
tests from people, and people can't pass the test, so they give them an open book, and it's just
yeah.
a shithole place to work. I mean, everybody
Right
I
now.
talk to is just so depressed. I mean, um, it's sad what's taking place in the
Yeah.
city, and you know what? People vote for who they think's the best, and I hope that they get what they vote for. And at the
Hmm.
end of the day, King Keeler's a moron at the highest level, and he's destroyed just about everything. How do you destroy the water filtration plant, for Christ's sake?
Yeah. I mean,
They
I don't
just
know
let
what's
it.
going on. I can't imagine what's really. It must be either a pump or a pipe. I haven't never seen the operation in there, so I don't know what could be leaking all over the place and up to trip an alarm.
Well, where do they start smashing those long pipes into the ground to hold down
Yeah.
the solar panels?
Well, what they did is sitting on the on Water Valete, actually Valete Boulevard. Anybody that drives in that area near the plant, okay, you can see the anchors that are supposed to be anchoring down the solar panels. They look like they're probably 4 inch in diameter, and they got blades on them, and they basically screw into the ground like a drill bit, large drill bit. And I understand they're going to start poking them in the ground starting Friday. So hopefully, they don't cause a breach. And next thing you know, we've got a fountain going on.
Well, you got Cohoes Falls Part 2 going down Vallee Street.
Yeah, but
Hey,
so I
Timmy,
don't
look,
know where they get mounted on the inside, outside. I don't know, but they are there. And then guess what, Sean? The best thing up, they're made in Sweden.
hey, listen, if they're going to work and they're going
Hmm.
to save the city taxpayer money, and that money's got to go to lower the cost of their water and sewer,
Yeah,
or reduce their taxes or add more firemen or get our own ambulance or whatever, I'm all for it, man.
Yeah, it would
I'm
be a
all
good
for
thing.
technology. I'm
We
all
get
for
10
these.
hours, almost 11 hours of sunlight on average a
I
year.
just don't believe these guys have a clue what they're doing because
Yeah,
every
and I just don't know what the payback period of time, because we've already invested
about
almost
750 years.
$700,000. So that's a lot of money. How many years is it going to take to get that back? What would
Well,
you think? 1 year, 2 years?
it should kick in right after the 25 years of the lights.
Yeah, somewhere
I
like that.
mean, you know,
But I'm
we're
thinking it's going to probably take us maybe 3 years to get our investment back before we really start seeing any
well, I think they
savings.
gave out a schedule of when we were going to get our money and how much money we'd get, but that
Hmm.
was before they forgot that they had to pay another $600,000,
Yeah, and I'm
stretched out a
curious.
little
They
longer.
should be getting an audit this year. I wonder if there's any surprises in
I don't know. I don't know. I think that the city is really got to just get its act together, man. These are not hard things. Hire people that are smarter than you, that know more than you, that can get things done that you can't, and let them do the job. Well, hey, listen, everybody. That's all I have for today. I know Timmy is feeling the same way, so we appreciate you watching the show. Joe, get better. Uh, be safe out there, and we'll see you all again on Truth Lies Political Bullshit. I say political bullshit because New York State is a land of bullshit. But hey, watch and see if they pass this bill so that we can all vote out of Sean Morris's house in 3 years. And maybe it'll be the best thing that ever happened. All right, my friends, take care.